Dustin Young here with Loam Roamer, and today we're going to talk about the Alta Rack. This is an amazing system. I did a lot of research. When people ask me, I'm more than happy to talk about why over other racks I chose this system. There's the Velociracks out there. It's kind of neat, but still, some of the things about it just didn't fit. And then the other rack that's out of Washington, can't think of the name of it right now. Also a nice rack, but again, some things that the Alta Rack has, in my opinion, that just stand head and shoulders above those two. One is, it's a lot more than a rack, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. It does a lot more than haul bikes, and that's pretty awesome. The other is, if you go off-road, if you need ground clearance and all that matters, well, Ollie Alta Racks, he thought about this, and you will see it when we talk about it today. So first, here's my rack. I got this thing in this really cool orange. It's the color I chose. At the time I bought this, I had a Go Fast camper, and it would have matched actually. So it's kind of interesting. It matched the subframe or the space frame of that Go Fast camper. I still love it in orange. I think it looks good, but you can get lots of colors from them in their racks. So let's talk a little bit about it. You see this add-on here. This table is something you buy. So we're going to get into, let's go back. I have 4 on, but it'll hold 6, easily hold 6. And I can put the other 2 on, but what I did, here's something they do that the others don't. This particular style, it's set up for mountain bikes. So instead of saying, hey, we fit everything from a 2-inch tire to a 5-inch fat bike in one rack, which causes these really interesting angles. So one bike at a 2.0 tire, and then one, it'll be leaned over like this. And then if you next to it put a 3.0 tire, it's like this, and a 5.0 tire, it's like this. But you end up with bikes that all lean at different angles. And tell you what, when you're going off-road, that could end a little badly. So Alta Racks really thought about that and said, all right, there should be a fat bike rack and there should be a mountain bike tire rack. And so I bought 4 in the mountain bike, 2 in the fat bike when I did it. And that way, generally with the truck, I don't haul more than 4. I have a way to haul other bikes anyway. I can actually haul 7 bikes in this thing pretty easily, just not 7 people. So, if I want 6 bikes on the rack, pretty easy to do. The other thing I have, so for right here, I can mount on this. I bought the adapter to put skis, snowboards, whatever. So again, now we're getting into this thing's a lot more than a bike rack, right? So already I have these add-ons that go on this. So you can take, let's say these 2 off, stick that on this side, put your skis across the bottom here, still hang your bikes on this side. So depends on where you're going. Now I got 2 bikes, 2 sets of skis, and the wife and I can go, let's say to Ashland, and we're there early enough in the year that we ski half a year, and still from half mountain down, weather's great, shred mountain bikes, right? So you start to see this rack is just a lot more than just for mountain bikes. The table, which I started on a second ago. This table, nice stainless steel. They're powder coating of colors now. When I bought it, you only got it this way. It gets used a lot. And I don't mean like, oh, hey, once in a while. When we're out mountain biking as a group, afterwards we stop, we set up, great ride. We throw up a propane stove and we cook up some food and we cut food and we have beer and we have all this stuff built into a rack. And we don't have to go bring tables or anything. It's just with us all the time. So now we've hauled 4 dudes, cooler, full of food, beer, everything we need a mountain bike, and we got a table to set up and cook on. And that's hard to complain about. The other thing, see these now, a lot of times, especially if I have bikes on, open these up. Right now, I'm attaching them to this Rego where normally, and pretty soon, my CB and ham antennas will go. When the Super Pacific camper's on, they're going to attach, imagine a camper, piece right here. What that does is it further increases the stability of the rack off-road. because no matter what you do, you've stuck a bike way off the back, far past the rear axle, you're gonna have some behavior. And then the stiffer your suspension, the more behavior your bikes are gonna have. Something else that Alta Racks thought of, so simple, is cutting some piece of tube. You stick them on your brakes and make sure your brakes are on while you're going. And two things. One, if you haven't bled your brakes, and some of you haven't, it keeps the air from causing your brakes to get squishy and you have to pump them up and having those issues. Two, it means your bike isn't back there trying to bounce up and down because the brakes are on. So it keeps the bike even more stable and from moving around. And so just little things like that they took the time to think about. Some other things is, this one doesn't, Alta Racks has the shock, right? I can't make that work in my head that it really matters. I don't even care if there are bikes on here. So let's get into this. You've got the typical safety pin, right? Simple. Alta Racks, by the way, have the safety pin and all that, but now you'd have a shock and all, other stuff to unlock. Alta Racks, you do that, come in here. This is a really nice system. Flip the lever, okay? Now, no shock, no damper. This thing's supposed to fall on me, right? I'm still waiting. No, never. I can't make any reason out that shock matters. Plus, now watch this. I'd actually like to see somebody just flip that down. So now when I'm ready to close it, it'll lock. I'd like to see somebody slam a Alta Rack shut, because now I've put a damper in the way. But let's say I just walk up to this one and I just want to shut it. Any speed I want, it just shuts. I don't have something now fighting that motion. So, I don't know if that actually happens. I'm actually curious to see if it does. But this rack, pretty easy to flip back, pretty easy to put back in place. This lower, you got all the tire straps, all that's set up. Really beefy bolt structure, 3/4 bolts. Everything is built extremely solid. Now, I am on my 3rd iteration. See, everything fits nice. I'm on my 3rd iteration of the rack system, the hitch portion here. The reason I'm on my 3rd iteration is because Ollie at Alta Racks has thought about this and said, when they had the first one come out, you get the rack portion, but it doesn't quite open all the way for a Tundra or a Chevy, right? So because we have these lovely kickouts, if you can see right here in the design of our bed. So the top of our tailgate's a little wide. So then he built an extension system. So I got the extension system and that made all this work, and the tailgate open and the racks sit there. It did bring the bikes a little bit out. So one of the things I didn't like was how far off the truck the bike stuck. And everything was external. So you had all these external mechanisms to put on it, and that would keep, from shaking, and you had to bolt all that stuff down. And I got pictures that I'll be showing here as we go along. But then he developed the internal bolt down system, and it really worked. It was a big improvement. So I installed all that, I put all that in, and it worked really well. Recently, they released a single hitch, no extension, no nothing needed, right? And it's internally bolted, plus a little extra piece. Now, what this has done is I got no more movement. The rack is extremely stable now, and it's really hard to be mad about that. So the rack has become a pretty amazing system, and I do a lot with it. Another modification I made, which I put in another video, is I put a brake light. So it's a brake, turn signals, and a backup light. I did that for safety reasons, right? Now I got a spare tire block. There's no left tail light essentially. When you're behind me, right? I got all this stuff going on. So I stuck this way back here so it was bright and visible, and made sure that everybody could see that I'd hit my brakes, because hey, I really don't want to be heading to ride the mountain bike only to have the mountain bike get rear-ended. So doing my best to keep that from happening. The other thing, so I'm trying to figure out a better way to mount the wiring, right? So for now, I'm just sort of working through it. But one of the cool things in this new rack is this made it possible to pass it all the way through. Now, you'll notice nothing's plugged in here. Wait, what? Nothing's plugged in there. That's right, nothing is plugged in there. Because, for those of you who aren't aware, Curtis makes an adapter. So now I'm running a 5-wire off of it, nicely put away. I can undo that 5-wire whenever I want and take this rack off. And I am not externally plugged in, which means if I have other accessories I would like to plug in, then that's what I do. I plug them in. And I didn't lose that capability. Now, I'm still trying to figure out how to route that better. Some things take time to figure out. I think, Ollie, if you watch this, maybe with all that going on as you're designing this, there's a way to build a wire chase in this so that if people want to attach lights, and hey, maybe there's lights to sell, and you know, you design the whole system, because I think people would buy the add-on. Now, one of the things I did, there wasn't from them a mountain bike attachment in the beginning. They have one now, looks like it works pretty good, but there wasn't one in the beginning. So I took and put the Park Tools piece on, and it works with every other Park Tools setup I have, right? So I come in here, right? I have a third one, but I can just take one of these, yank it out, throw it in on the truck, and just take off. And it makes everything super easy to deal with, right? So I can just throw it on, got bikes hanging here. Check this picture out of that and how good it works. So that's the rack itself on the truck. The other thing is the rack. So let's open this up one more time. Okay, I'm doing a handheld today, folks. It's going to be a little moving around. The rack does not interfere, right? Tips back pretty nice. Spare tire opens just fine. I don't have to take off the bikes. I don't have to do anything. So if you're thinking about a dual swing bumper on your Tundra, the Alta Rack with the new extension, hell yes, that works good. Hard to be mad about something like that. All right, so now we get into something that I think is awesome. And one of the things that sold me on this is this truck is about going places and just hanging out and doing cool shit. So what makes an Alta Rack better than the other two racks? This hammock stand right here. Hands down, nothing is as awesome as this. And they do not have this for the other racks. This is built in. My wife and I chill in it. We'll hang out. When this whole truck is set up, the hammock's out, the bikes are still hanging off of it, and we're just at camp. Dude, people will ask to take pictures because they've never seen a system like it. And they want to go look for that for their truck. So, you know, think about how you actually use your truck. So if you use your truck for camping and going places, and I mean, even post-ride, you just want to stop, put the hammock up, make some food, have a beer, because you're in the middle of nowhere, and you want to be there for a while longer, right? This is a system. It's not a bike rack. It's an awesome bike rack, but it is so much more than that. And I really hope that gives you a great walk around on the Alta Rack. It is a killer rack system. They continue to evolve it. They do a killer job of building an amazing product. Plus, they're just damn good people, and that is really hard not to love. Because man, it's not a $300 rack, right? It's not cheap, but it's worth every penny if you're looking for a system that is so much more than a way to just carry your bikes. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to the next video with everybody. Have an awesome rest of your weekend.